Hi, welcome to the problem to be solved, the quirky inventions meet reality. My name is D Plus, and today we'll have the first episode of a new mini-series on the channel. It's about patents for beginners. So, let's see what we'll uncover this time. Let's start off this series with a little story. Out of a book, I guess. So imagine you're a tinkerer in medieval times. The world around you is dirty and bleak. But at least you're not a peasant in the fields. You're having your own little workshop and you're also living in it in a bigger city. You could be, for example, a weaver who's discovering a way to create a new type of fabric that is more durable and waterproof. You could be a glass blower to create a new type of glass that is able to withstand higher temperatures and therefore is better suited for scientific experiments. You could be a woodworker who invents a new type of joints in order to build more complex furniture design. You could be a metalworker who has discovered a new type of alloy that is lightweight and incredibly strong, ideal for weapons and armor. Or you could be a stonemason who develops a new technique for cutting and shaping stone in such a way that it is better suited for architecture and sculptures. So, you're one of these inventors. And you know that getting these techniques right requires a lot of experimentation and a lot of trial and error. So, you're asking a friend, yeah, well, do you think I should really invest that much time and resources into polishing and improving on this new technique that you have discovered? The friend replies, never do this. It will go against the gods. Know the story of Basileus. And the story goes as follows. In times long forgotten, there was an alchemist named Basileus, who was always tinkering with different chemicals and substances in his makeshift laboratory. He had a deep passion for experimentation and was constantly searching for a new and innovative way to create unique compounds. One day, while working on a new experiment, Basileus accidentally discovered a substance that burned even in water, but was uncontrollably explosive. He experimented with the substance, adding other chemicals, trying to tame the substance. Months became years. Basileus had to sell most of his clothes, then his furniture, and finally his house, and he had to start living in a small workshop. But the compound was still not ready. Then one day, there it was. He found the material to add to his composition and to stabilize the compound. It was a resin from a very specific tree growing close by. Now he had finally created a highly flammable liquid that was incredibly difficult to extinguish and which could be controlled. Basileus realized that his invention had enormous potential and he wanted to share it with the world. He decided to approach a local lord and offered to sell him the compound for a large sum of money. The lord was initially skeptical, but he eventually realized the power of Basileus' invention and agreed to buy it for a small sum. Unfortunately, news of Basileus' invention soon got rediscovered and re-engineered by the lord's court alchemist, who was said to have spied on Basileus during his mixturing process. The lord started to curry favor with the emperor and gifted him the recipe to become part of the inner council. The emperor soon declared a monopoly on his Greek fire, and Basileus was left to live in poverty. His invention was refined by the finest engineers and turned into a deadly ship weapon that could throw inextinguishable fire at enemy ships. Basileus had inadvertently changed the course of history, but he was unable to benefit from his discovery. The strategy of Basileus was fairly simple. Keep your invention secret and only sell your product, right? However, as it turned out in the story, it only takes time and enough resources of a more powerful individual to either recreate your invention, reverse engineer it, or simply through espionage find out how it is done, as it has been done in this fictional account of Basileus. So for Basileus, it was not a good strategy to run on. Let's look at it from the other angle. from the Emperor. The Emperor, of course, is elated. He has a new compound, he has a new weapon, where he did not have to spend any R&D on. No research and development necessary. He simply got the recipe in the end. Perfect. So for society, at first, it seems like a big win, right? However, through the ages, through the whole history of the Empire of Byzantium, the empire slowly declined, and with it, the monopolized knowledge was lost. Nowadays, scientists try to recreate the Greek fire of the past, and there is no conclusive evidence. They simply do not know what exactly was part of this compound. They think it might be a crude oil compound or resin. However, nothing can be said for certain. So this seems like a suboptimal solution, right? Keeping your innovation secret. Either you lose control of it because somebody else reverse engineers it or comes up with a similar solution themselves, or society loses it after a while because knowledge slowly degrades and gets lost. There are actually many instances of medieval crafting geniuses who had very specific techniques that they did not share because of this. And they literally lived a comfortable life until they unfortunately passed away and the knowledge for society was lost. So, is there then a better solution for this problem? Venice in the 14th and 15th century was very famous for their glasswork. They, for example, were the first ones to actually produce crystal glass by adding a bit of lead to the glass. Anyways, Venice was also therefore a melting pot, literally, for glasswork innovation. And soon people realized that it might be beneficial for all of these experts in glasswork to share their knowledge, however, in such a way that if you're sharing, you kind of get a compensation. So they came up with a system that is essentially still the same today: the patent system. How does a patent system work? The patent system is a trade-off between what society wants and what the inventor wants. Society wants to know everything about the invention. Why? Because if the society knows about it, they can reproduce it. They can have brilliant minds in this sphere of society work out better solutions that are even better than the original invention. Or they can modify it and use it for different purposes that nobody actually thought about. So society has a big incentive to share the knowledge. However, for the individual, this knowledge sharing is of course very detrimental. Because if there's nothing left for the individual, why should anybody give this individual compensation for the time, the resources they have spent into innovating? Hence, the patent system proposed the following deal. You, as an inventor, disclose your invention, and for this disclosure, you will receive a compensation. Let's break this down. Let's start with what is a disclosure of the invention. A disclosure of the invention means that people skilled in the art, or skilled persons, could understand by reading your patent specification how to build, how to recreate your invention. Now let's go to compensation. In the Soviet Union, for example, you received a certificate, and this certificate allowed you some kind of monetary compensation, while the state itself could exploit then the patent. Nowadays, in most modern legislations, it is not that. It's not a monetary fee or something that you receive. It is rather a monopoly on your invention for a limited time frame. Why? Well, this has evolved throughout the centuries, literally, because it has several advantages to do it this way. First of all, this monopoly means that at first the state does not really, or society does not really have to pay for the invention. Because there are a lot of inventions that might be very inventive and very new and exciting at first. However, they simply do not sell on the market because either there is nobody there who actually wants it, or it is way too difficult to produce, or it is too unreliable, or it does not satisfy certain standards, and so on. So there are several reasons why inventions, even though new and inventive, simply fail to produce any profits. So from the society point of view, it is good to give this person rather a monopoly, to monopolize the invention. Why is that? Because then the inventor is incentivized. The inventor has the incentive to actually try to make the device or the product as market conform as possible. Either adapting it to a certain client base, making it more easy to produce, or simply cutting out certain features of the invention that might not really be necessary in the first place. Further, the value of the invention will be determined with time, depending on how successful the product is. Instead of in the beginning, when nobody really knows how the invention sells or how useful it is, to simply then determine how useful it is. So this monopolizing is good for society in a way that the burden of monetizing the invention is completely on the inventor. However, it has also advantages for the inventor, because the inventor then kind of has it in their control how useful and how valuable in the end their product will become. There could be inventions that at first glance seem trivial and nobody would actually want that, but in the end, with good marketing and with good logistics in the company, they become literal gold mines. Hence, it has advantages and disadvantages for both parties. Now to the last part. A monopoly limited in time. Why is this? Of course, it could be unlimited. You could give an inventor, let's say, a monopoly until the inventor passes away. But is this really then in the interest of society again? Because if society wants to work with the invention and wants to use the invention, at some point this monopoly has to fall. This monopoly has to go. So if you have a very young inventor, let's say a 25-year-old who lives another 75 years, it takes a long time until further innovation can be performed. Hence, that's why most legislations have limited this time frame to 20 and in exceptions 25 years. Because like this you keep a certain pace, a certain rhythm in innovating and building upon on inventions. Why is this important? It is important for some aspects, for some technology, while less important for other aspects of technology. Think about the Nintendo Wii, for example. The Nintendo Wii is from the mid-2000s, hence all patents protecting the Nintendo Wii are very likely still running within the 20 years time frame. Hence, nobody can literally reproduce and sell the Nintendo Wii right now. But also, would they want it? I mean, let's go to 5 to 10 years from now when all the patents are out of are in the common knowledge. Yeah, then this is kind of obsolete technology and nobody really cares anymore, right? So for fast-paced technology, this 20-year limit is actually kind of already the whole lifetime of the product, and this is more in favor than for the inventor than the society. However, society can still understand how the invention works and build on it and combine it in different innovative ways themselves. On the other hand, there are also very slow-paced technologies. Let's take, for example, bicycles. The bicycle that we are all riding right now with the two similar sized wheels, etc., used to be patented as a safety bike in the 19th century. And of course, the patent ran through a certain lifespan, and then it was common knowledge. And now everybody can build a bike and sell it with the usual features that we associate with a bike. The two wheels, a handlebar, a saddle to sit on. Perfect. But also more modern parts of the bike, like certain gear systems that are constantly improved on at a quite slow pace, like a breakthrough every 5, every 10 years maybe, to get more efficient, more reliable, etc. Is at such a pace that it actually makes a lot of sense that after 20 years the monopoly falls and the technology is not yet at all obsolete. Instead, makes the produce much cheaper for third parties to integrate in their bikes. One important branch, but this is of utmost importance, is also technology that is very cheap to produce, but research and development is vastly expensive. Pharmaceutics is one of those technical areas. In pharmaceutics, that little pill that you swallow comprises compounds in minuscule amounts, like grams or milligrams of active substance that is easily to mass produce. However, the research, the development, the studies you have to do, the experimentation, all people working together in order to find whether this compound is actually helping people with a certain ailment. This is where the cost comes in. So the pharma industry gets in these monopolies for the patented drugs in order to recuperate or even make profit from the medication, even though they had to invest so much research resources into it. However, after those 20 or 25 years, all of a sudden, this knowledge becomes common knowledge. And this is where the generic drug industry comes in. They swoop in to those expiring patents or expired drug patents, and now they can produce these drugs or the medication for a very low price in the chemicals or in the production process and sell them for profit without having had to invest this huge sum into research and development. And like this, both parties get their share. The first pharma industry hopefully could get a certain amount of profit out of their invention, while afterwards the society can profit from the now generic drugs that are much cheaper and still very, very helpful. The active substance is still the same. And this is why, slowly, after many trials and errors, since the Venetians have come to the conclusion that it might be a good idea to share knowledge and to compensate the inventor for it, we arrived to the patent system, how it is today. And this kind of answers already questions. Why patents? Now, whether it is a perk for the rich or beneficial to society, that is still to debate. But for now, it appears that it is mostly beneficial. Yeah, and this concludes the first episode on the patents for beginners. And if you like this kind of content and also the other videos on the channel, please consider subscribing and check out the other videos. Thank you very much for your time then, and see you next time.